this look familiar to anybody? A Laserdisc, Pioneer, CD, CDV, LD player, CLD-B 2600. Got an E04. One of the error messages that I've seen so far. I've also had a 1 and a 3. And this, all it does is pretty much spin, besides this little clip that I'll show you right here when it plays, when it works.
Exactly put John across the Brooklyn Bridge, is it?
And you can see it doesn't stay on the screen that long at all, and then it goes to 0. Doesn't do, like, eject it. I think that's an LD laser disc. But if I try to play it again, let's see, open it, close it, try to play it again. We'll see if it comes up on the screen.
Exactly put John across the...
And that's it. Always just a short little bit. And then it dies out, and you can see the screen is really bad. Not even the full screen. So then we get our error again. 1 of the 3. All right. I got the top of it off. And I did a little searching around before putting this on camera, and I want to show you what I come up with. There's one problem: the door gets stuck. Come on, open up. There it goes. It gets stuck on something. I haven't looked at that yet, but I want to show you probably why this probably doesn't work. See that right there? If you look under those components along that big chip and that variable resistor next to it, you can see that's water damage. And if you look down here, right there on that variable resistor, potentiometer, whatever you want to call it, there's water damage there too. And there's a little, you can see a little bit all over the board. And if you come over to this side, you can also see it in the holes and on the top of this right here. That's water damage. So who knows what the bottom of that circuit board looks like. We're going to have to take this out of there and find out, and see what components are bad because of that. I did want to mention that I have this playing out of the coaxial, the regular cable wire that comes to your house. I have a cable wire connected to the player and to my TV, and that's how the screen is showing up there. The RCA jacks, the left and right audio, and the video cable are connected also, but it doesn't pick anything up. It doesn't display anything on the TV, so you can hear this thing's kind of noisy. But I did want to mention that, so we have to figure out why it isn't playing through the RCA jacks either. And another funny thing is you don't ever have to worry about losing the remote, because look how big that thing is. Holy smokes. Is that an 80s thing or what? That's bigger than most cell phones. Pretty funny. I just stuck that disc in there to see what it would do. Probably ain't gonna do anything. About like it did before, probably. But let's start digging into this thing and find out what's going on with it. All right, look at this. This is like, did a lot of work on this thing, and I fast forwarded through a lot of it that you've seen, just to get to the issues and start working on it. So a lot of things that I found that had water damage to it, I replaced. Here's a little bit of the stuff I replaced. You can see it's a lot of capacitors and these variable resistors. I replaced quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of those, but most of them were capacitors. There was like 35 components altogether that I replaced, because anything that looked like it had water damage on it, I replaced it. Or like the big chips, you'll see in some of the pictures that a bunch of the legs had water that dripped on it. So I took the chips out and cleaned the legs off and everything the best I could with some isopropyl alcohol. This chip right here was one of them that was really bad, and I just replaced that chip. Had to order it from China, but yeah, otherwise you could see the blue ones now are all the ones that I replaced. They're kind of all over the place. And to know if I needed to replace a capacitor or not, one of the things that I did was test them and see if they had water damage done to them. And I found out a good way to do that. Let's say, for instance, this capacitor right here that's bent. If you look by the legs, underneath the legs in here, you'll see some corrosion or something like oozed out of the capacitor, but most likely it's just water that got on the legs and it seeped up. It wicked itself up into the capacitor, and what that does is it corrodes so easy in there because the foil is so thin and everything. So one way to find out if you got a bad capacitor with water damage is just take this and bend it. If you can't bend that more than a couple times without it staying together, and the whole capacitor breaks off, then you know it had water damage. You should be able to bend a capacitor back and forth a little bit without it breaking off. And I've had quite a few of them that broke off just the first time I bent it over. And I'll show you some pictures in here. I got quite a few pictures of all the stuff that was water damage that I replaced. These two capacitors here, this one here and this one here, I got the wrong one. It was like huge. I don't even know what happened with that, but they're supposed to be these little tiny yellow ones, but for some reason they shipped to me like this. So I put them in there. They're the same value and everything is supposed to be, but we'll see how that works for now. But yeah, there wasn't much wrong with the back. Like I said, that we should look at the back, and who knows how much damage is back here. The only thing I did find was some of these legs on these chips here had a little bit of water on them, so I just cleaned it with acetone, alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. and the same with this one here. But otherwise, there wasn't too much wrong with the back sides, so that's good. So now I'm to the point to where I'm actually going to put this all back together, and we have to actually go around and set all these variable resistors now. And the only way that I'm able to do that is because I have the schematic for this, and it has all the graphs for the oscilloscope in the schematics, and it has the test point where you put your probe, and then you turn your variable resistor here to get what it shows in the picture on the schematic. So that's going to take a little while, because it's going to be hard to work on these when this thing is all together, because the tray comes over like this, about right in here, something like that. So it might be one of those things where you tweak it a little bit and, you know, try to tweak it underneath, but blah blah blah. But yeah, that's where we sit right now. So I'm gonna throw this whole thing together, and then start setting these things, the variable resistors. I want to take a minute to explain what I did to regain the video on the RCA output, and it has to do with this little resistor right here, R585. This resistor, this leg over here, connects to this pin right here of the RCA jack, which is the output, and this one over here is the ground. So if we look at the schematic, we can see that the video comes out this way and goes here to the cable TV connection output, and it also comes down here over to the video output. We were getting video out the cable, the video output, but we weren't getting it down this way, and it couldn't have been a whole lot being the problem, because there's only one component there. So we could get the video here, but we couldn't get it here. I checked this resistor and it was good. So I found out, looking at it closer, that at this point right here, there was a break in the trace, and that was why there was not getting any video output. So what I had to do, if we look at this board right here, the layout of it, here's our resistor, our R585. This is the video output pin. So what I did was solder a wire going from this pin over to this pad and to this side of the resistor, and that solved the problem, because right here is where the break was, right between those two pins, so this blank pad and that pin. So that's why we weren't getting any video on the output. So not only the video input or video output had an issue, but I realized that we have a problem with the push buttons. I thought for sure that when I first started playing around with this that the buttons worked. I thought for sure when I pressed the play button it worked, but when I was testing it out after I assembled it one time, thought I was all done. I should say after I assembled it, I tried it, and the video output didn't work, and none of these buttons would do anything when I pressed them. So you've seen what I did to fix the video output, and now I'm taking a look at the buttons, and I took the front off and unscrewed the circuit board here and found that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buttons don't work, or they're a little flaky. The eject button and stop button was the only one that worked consistently. But if we're going to replace the rest, might as well replace that one too. So here's the little buttons that they have in there. They got 2 little feet coming out of the center. And I'll show you what they were doing. That fooled me because I thought they worked. But I got the meter on continuity. So if I grab a hold of both the legs here, these are normally open switches or buttons. So if we press it, nothing. So you can see I'm pressing it in, it's not doing anything. Now if I force this switch one way or the other, or there you go. If I force it in a certain direction, I can get a beep. But when this thing's all together, you're not forcing it in any direction, you're just pushing it in and out. And in and out does not work every time. So that's telling us that we have some bad switches. And this one's the same way. This is, I don't remember which one this was, the pause or the volume, or I mean the play, but it's the same way. Now if I move it around, there, I can get it to contact for a second. Yeah. But like I said, when the switches are when everything's put together, this only goes straight in and straight out. And it doesn't work every time, or doesn't work at all on some of them. So I went and ordered some switches for these. Just got a few of them. Got them off Amazon. Made sure I measured these and compared them to those. And the only thing that's different about them is these have really long legs on them that we'll have to cut down, of course. But otherwise, you can see they're like exactly identical. So you just have to measure everything on this to find the right ones. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace all these switches on here with the new ones. One thing I did notice is the ones that were in there, you can hear that little click. It's a little bit lighter, and then this is the new one. That one's a little harder and noisier. You can buy these in 3 different force tensions there, and I got the middle one, I believe it was, because I didn't want to get too heavy or too light, so I just got the middle one. So it still should work exactly the same. So if we put this in here, put this on there, press the button, that's straight in and out. Works every time. So we shouldn't have any problems with these. So all we have to do is just desolder them all here and push them through and set them right on the board, and then solder them back in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, here it is, all back together. I got the all the switches right here that I replaced, the buttons, and everything works good. Let's start by here. I'll close this up. This button always worked. Alright. And then I'm gonna take the camera down and I can show you what's going on up here. I have both the cable wire and the RCA jack cables connected up. One's on channel 3, the cable's on channel 3, and the RCA, of course, is on its own little thing. Let me grab this camera real quick. Alright. I'm going to back this off a little. Oops, wrong way. So here's the front. It says there's a Laserdisc in there. It's ready to go. And then our play button works. Apparently it never did that before. I just didn't realize that. So there's the play, and I'll turn the source of the TV on cable. There's 3. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then the pause button cuts it completely off, and the numbers aren't moving anymore. And if you haven't guessed, this is side 2 of the disc. Hit play, and it goes again. Our skip button down here. Search for 15, the next track. 16, the next track. And then it goes back to, we'll go back to 16. And so, yeah, the display button works. Just puts the time up there or takes it off. The skip and the step buttons don't work for some reason during CLV mode or whatever that is. I was reading through the book, and things work depending on what you're doing. So yeah, here's the fast forward and rewind. Let's fast forward, rewind. All you do is you just turn this thing. But yeah, that's it. And the thing about the picture is, after I put all the components on the board, you've seen, I put the before and after pictures up there, and you could see the difference in the picture. It's 100% perfect for a 90s machine. And on a, well, it's a 1080p TV, but it only plays at 480, I think. But yeah, I did not adjust any of the variable resistors that I mentioned that I was going to adjust. As soon as I turned it on with everything put together, that picture just came out beautiful, just like it's supposed to. So I'm not even going to mess with them for a couple reasons, and one of them is you need a test disc from Pioneer that they don't make anymore. So you can't follow the procedure for adjusting the variable resistors unless you have that test disc or a different copy of one, but none are available. I checked it out and I don't have one. So, but I've been through everything on this now, and it has no problems where all the variable resistors sit right now. So I'm not going to mess with it. we'll just give this to back to the customer, and I'm sure he'll love it. Let's see, I wanted to say this was on 3, the cable, and now I'm going to change it to composite, and there's the RCA jack connection, and you can see it's only 480i 60 hertz, but the color's a little bit more pronounced, but that all depends on, I guess, how you adjust your TV or something. But yeah, I don't mess with this TV too much, but all right. So it all works. The sound works, of course.
Okay, buddy?
So just don't want to let that play in the background. Not too much picture or whatever. Hopefully it don't void anything. But yeah, that's it. And it works great. I'm glad everything worked out with it. So I guess we will see you in the next one.